Hey everybody, this is Sheets. Excuse me, and I'm going to be going over the MMA card for tomorrow, February 19th. Although, from a quality perspective, whatever that means, it does not stack up, against some of the better cards this year. We're still giving away 100,000 for first in the big GPP, and the process remains the same. So we're going to attack this the same way that we would any other slate. Now, it is only 12 fights, so that is definitely something to consider. And we're going to go through the same process as usual. We're trying to find, again, fighters that have a good inside the distance prop, meaning it race to finish early. We're also obviously looking for any complete misprices, which sometimes happens when you have a replacement fighter, because DraftKings DraftKings always prices these guys as of the beginning of the week, sort of. And if it's a replacement fighter, you sometimes get, imbalances, lack of a better description. In addition to that, if you can't find someone with a good inside the distance prop, what you want is to find someone with high grappling upside. Because of the way the DraftKings scoring system works, we want to find those guys as well. And also, you could also get there with just a whole bunch of significant strikes and a whole bunch of volume. Obviously, what's preferred is to be able to knock someone out in the first round, but sometimes the high grappler is going to score the most points, even if they go to a decision. Sometimes you'll have that high volume guy that'll get there. But those are the guys you want to look for. And again, we're going to just attack it the way we usually do. We only have 12 fights, so we can go kind of fight by fight here. And I do have some kind of observations on most all of these. So first of all, first fight, you have Perrin versus Batista. And although Batista rates to be a 3.5 to 1 favorite, you'll see the inside the distance prop is extremely poor. It's barely a pick 'em to not go to a decision at his price, which is about 9,200. And that's just not going to be good enough. I'm going to be completely avoiding that. And Perrin at a 3 to 1 underdog is not something I want to get into. He doesn't have a great inside the distance prop either. So I'm probably going to be staying away from him. Ashlinger against Strader. So here, same thing. You have an inside the distance prop, which is okay. It's not great, but it's pretty good. It's minus 250 to not go to a decision. And obviously that's coming from the Ashlinger side. Strader is actually, I think, a boxing coach, if that means anything. So, he's going to try to do his thing and try to box, but, and Ehlinger with was minus 250. He's priced probably a little bit too high, and we're finding guys that are minus 300 that are similarly priced to him. So I'm probably going to be avoiding him. The only thing I would say, though, is when I pull the ownerships up, even he's going to be 25% owned, according to my numbers. So I think I'm probably going to avoid that. It's not bad, but it's not great either. So probably going to be avoiding this fight. All right, next fight, I actually have an opinion on. I'm probably not going to play it for DFS, but here's my opinion. So you have Bieber against DePaula, and you'll see the prices here are 8,200 and 8K, right? So it's priced as if it's pretty much a pick 'em, 8,200 and 8K. And then you look at the odds and you see Bieber is like a very small favorite, like minus 120. And it seems to make a lot of sense. If you watch MMA content this week, if you watched 30 MMA videos, you will find 30 opinions that Bedo is going to win. It's amazing to me. I would say literally, I think 15 to 0. I haven't found a single person that's saying that DePaula is going to win, and that's not even considering upside or fantasy output. Like, nobody thinks DePaula is going to win. To which I asked the question, why is this only a pick 'em? And as you know where I'm going with this, I wasn't born yesterday, and I've seen this a zillion times in my life. There is no chance I'm playing Bedo. I mean, listen, if I had it in me, I would probably just make a bet on DePaula just to be a pain in the neck. There's got to be something to make DePaula pick 'em, and you have everybody on the other side. So I'm going to be avoiding this DFS completely. Peace. Anybody who wants to try this. All right, Jonathan Pierce against Christian Rodriguez. Now this is something you want to target. You have very strong inside the distance prop. This is minus 250. That's kind of more like it. And a 380 favorite for Pierce. And Pierce has grappling upside. He has, so you have basically everything that you want out of this matchup. Let's compare that to the Ashlinger one. So the Ashlinger, he was only a minus 295, for example. Although the fight went to decision is very similar, it's just more likely that someone like Pierce finishes than Ashlinger, and they're basically the same price. And you factor in the upside of the grappling as well. That's what makes Pierce just a better favorite than Ashlinger. Christian Rodriguez is stepping up a weight class on short notice. It's really not something that I want to get into. So I'm probably going to be avoiding him as kind of a punt play. So for me, Pierce is a very, very strong favorite here. All right, Chaz Skelly against Mark Streagle. So Chaz Skelly's like 8,900 and Streagle's like 74 or something like that. I mean, you have Chaz Skelly who's off a 2.5-year layoff with a very poor inside the distance prop. I mean, no thanks. I don't need that. I mean, if anything, what you want to do, look at Streagle's only a plus 170, and he's 18-3. I mean, like he's got to have something. If anything, I think I would include him in my underdog pool, because I mean, Chaz Skelly literally he's off 2.5 years. He's announced that this is probably going to be his last fight. And Streagle is kind of, he's more of an up-and-comer than Skelly is. So I don't know. I don't want any part of Chaz Skelly. If anything, I'm going to probably try Mark Streagle as a punt play. Jessica Rose Clark against Egger. I went back and forth on this. Well, let's go look at the numbers first. First, the inside distance prop is pretty poor. The only thing I would say is that I watch too much of this nowadays. Now I start to come up with my own takes. I really don't want to do. I want to let the numbers kind of guide me here. But I saw Egger fight a couple of fights ago, and nobody believed that she was a good play then, and she just killed somebody. So she's probably more aggressive than people think. So I'd probably try her at plus 150, but I just feel as though they're probably better underdogs for DFS. Let's look at her. She's 7,600. I mean, there's just better 7,600s. I mean, you're going to need, I think, more points than she's going to be able to give. I don't know. I'm going to think about this. I might actually try some Egger here. And I have no interest in Jessica Rose Clark. Again, poor inside the distance prop. She really doesn't have that much grappling upside. It's a pass. All right. This next fight I actually have an opinion on. David Onama is the kind of hype play of the week. And the reason why is Onama stepped in on short notice as a huge underdog against Mason Jones. And he put out a pretty good performance against him. He ended up losing, but that was the talk of the town, that Onama came into the fight, a huge underdog. He really made his mark. He looked really, really good in a loss, and he's kind of a real good, sharp prospect now. Kind of all of a sudden, just after that one performance. And then you have Gabriel Benitez, who's just kind of been around the block a little bit. So, he's getting up there. What is he, 33 years old, something like that? And so nobody likes to play these guys. And all I've heard all week is Onama this, Onama that. He looked great in a loss, I'm just kind of not interested. And the reason why is, from what I heard about that fight, and I saw a little bit of it, the reason why Onama was able to do so well is his matchup was against a guy who basically loves to stand and trade. Okay, Mason Jones just knew that he could get there, take Onama's best shots, and just kind of grind him out eventually. Mason Jones is not the guy that's going to just bob and weave and duck and move and be overly technical with him. So it's not really surprising that Onama was able to put on a good performance even in the loss, is because the style of that fight was just conducive to him being able to put up a number of significant strikes against Mason Jones, who was certainly willing to take it. Gabriel Benitez is not that type of guy. He's not the guy that's going to sit there and stand and trade with you. So I don't think that the style of this fight is particularly conducive to Onama, just translating that last performance to this one. So I mean, I think that Gabriel Benitez's skill set is going to be a problem for Onama, who's going to be extremely popular. Right? So let's look at the inside the distance prop. You'll see it's okay. Fight doesn't go to decision -200. The pricing's attractive. It's 8,400, 7,800, which is why Onama is taking a whole bunch of money in the DFS community, and he's going to be really popular. I have him right now at 30% ownership. I would be shocked if it weren't more than that, just from what I've heard. So I'm probably going to fade that. I'm probably going to play Benitez. Depending on how many lineups I take, I might play some Onama, but if I do, it's going to be with other fighters who are really, really low owned. That's just my opinion on this one. Okay, Buckley Al Hassan. So this one is giving me a headache all week. So this is essentially a pick 'em to finish inside a round and a half. Fight doesn't go to a decision is -300. And that's the deal with both of these fighters. They all, whenever they fight, they have the really short inside the distance prop, okay? Because, Al Hassan, he wins all of his fights when he wins them, in the first round, apparently. And Buckley, not only does he have knockout upside, but he's got this one highlight on his resume from like last year, which is essentially like the greatest knockout in UFC history. So that kind of just stays with him. So he's known as this knockout guy too. So what you're going to hear through all of DFS content is, what seems to make sense. I mean, you have an incredibly short inside the distance prop. It's about pick 'em to go under 1.5 rounds. The pricing is such that it makes it, somewhat affordable. Let's just take a look at this. You have Al Hassan 7,900, Buckley 8,300. Why don't we just go ahead and just lock in this fight? Life is not that easy though, especially on a 12-fight slate when you want to be somewhat contrarian. I've seen this before, and I can see paths where this fight busts. Neither of these guys are idiots, but I shouldn't say, but Buckley saw Al Hassan just head kick somebody, knock him out in the first round. But before that, Al Hassan was supposed to go in and beat Malkoun. He was a 3-1 favorite of Malkoun. Everybody was on him. They said it was going to be first round knockout. And you know what? Malkoun just controlled him and took him down 100 times and won a decision. Buckley, I'll tell you this, with all of his knockout stuff in his last fight against Arroyo, he was terrible. I mean, he was slow, he was methodical, he wasn't aggressive. Finally, in the third round, he got him with some uppercuts and stuff like that. But I'm not 100% convinced I have to get 100% of this fight. As a matter of fact, you want a good bet here? Boy, this is going to be really nasty. If you can actually get this and have it win. What if you played Buckley by decision? Let's see, Buckley. If you win Buckley by decision, is +550. Now that's something I might be able to try. I mean, Buckley. I'll tell you something else. Before he had that big huge knockout, he used to wrestle. So maybe his handlers would say, listen, Al Hassan, he KO'd somebody in 2 seconds with a head kick. The fight before that, he got controlled on the mat. Why don't you go back to your wrestling and just get the W, And if that's the case, number one, I think Buckley has multiple win conditions to score well. And number two, I think this fight could go the distance. So what I'm going to probably do, I'm probably going to fade the Hassan side, because that's going to be a very, very popular underdog at GPPs. And look, for good reason. I mean, he wins all his fights in the first round. He's only $140 underdog. So you think that, about 45% of the time he gets a knockout in the first round. Seems that way. But I think I'm going to fade the Hassan side and play Buckley. Right? That's what I think I'm going to do, because even if it doesn't finish in the first round, you could still get a good score out of Buckley, where if it doesn't finish in the first round, I don't think you can get a good score out of Al Hassan. Okay, Nicholas Mota versus Jim Miller. So you have Nicholas Mota making his debut against the guy who's fought 100 times. So let's take a look at this. Fight doesn't go to decision, not terrible. And Jim Miller doesn't exactly have the greatest cardio. So he's going to probably, hopefully get something in the first round or maybe early second. And this fight is fair. You know, I would take a shot at both these guys. Mota is, let's take a look. His price is 8,500, and Jim Miller is 7,700. So Jim Miller, I mean, he's going to be probably a pretty popular underdog because, look, I mean, you got to play somebody, and you know, he has finishes, he's got experience, and you know, between him and Al Hassan, those are your two chalk underdogs. You know, so and I see it, but if I had to like go for leverage, in other words, let's say I had to choose between Mota and Buckley, I think Buckley's probably the better leverage against the chalk underdog than Mota. But I think Mota is probably pretty good leverage against the chalk underdog Miller. I think that's not a bad play, actually. All right, Porter against Bedo. I mean, to me, this seems pretty easy. I mean, the guy's a 3-1 favorite. Inside the distance prop, about -200. I mean, he's probably going to win, and he's probably going to finish him, right? So unless he's like 9,200, you're probably going to want to play him. And they priced him pretty low. I mean, he's I think he's 80. Is he 88, 89? He's 89. I guess that's fair. But I guess the real question is, do you want to take some underdog shots at Bedo here? Just these big heavyweights, you know, you have this impression that anybody can knock the other one out. I just don't see the other side of this. I don't see the Bedo knocking out Porter. So for me, it's going to be either Porter or nothing here. I mean, I would much rather play, for example, that Streagle character at 7,200 than Bedo. That's just me, though. All right, Darcus Pickett, not playing Pickett. He has a terrible win condition. Even when he does win, he wins slow. And Darcus is, you know, everything you want. He's a big favorite. The inside the distance prop is just okay, but he's got big grappling upside. I mean, he could take Pickett down a couple of times and get there that way. So him at 8,900, Porter at 8,900. I like both of those guys more than, for example, Chad Eschlinger, you know, or Mario Batista. I'd much rather play a Porter and Darcus. So I like those two, and I don't like Pickett at all. And Jamal Hill Walker, you know, this is supposed to be 3 rounds, but because it became the main event, they moved it up to 5. And you know how it is, man. 5 rounds is tough to fade. So not to mention the inside the distance prop is pretty nice. You know, it's -400 to finish inside the distance. So if you have that finishing upside and you have 5 rounds to work with, you're just going to have to play this fight, I think. Do I have an opinion on this? Not really. I think that the pricing is actually favoring Walker, right? I think Walker's probably the better play than Hill just on the numbers, because Walker's only a 2-1 underdog, and he's he's 5 rounds to work with, and he's getting priced at like a 3-1 underdog maybe, without 5 rounds to work with. So Hill is actually, Hill's only 9K also. These are both just really strong plays. I mean, I know that, you know, this is not the most exciting fight in the world, and you know there are other things you could do on this fight, this card, but to not play some of this is just really tough, you know. But you know, it's 12 fights. I don't know. That's the thing. Like, if you don't play this fight, you really need like 5 finishes. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that pause there, but yeah, I think you're just going to have to play this, because look, if there are 15 fights on the card, then you could say, ooh, maybe I can find 4 other fights that put up better scores than this. But it's tough, man. It's just tough to get exactly 4 or 5 scores that are going to be better than the main event. I mean, I could come up with them, right? If you get, you know, is Darcus really going to score like more than maybe? Darcus. Who else is going to score more than the main event? Pierce, maybe. You know, the more I'm looking at this, the more you just got to play this thing, this main event. And that's pretty much it. You know, I think I highlighted the underdogs I like, the ones I didn't. I mean, look, Miller's going to be chalk, but yeah, it's good play. I think that probably, unfortunately, Walker's probably the best underdog, given everything else. Hassan's a good underdog, but he's probably chalky. Probably not going to do it. I think Benitez is probably a good underdog there. You're probably not going to get a huge amount of upside from him, but you get the W at 7,800. It's not the end of the world, right? Maybe Egger's not the worst thing in the world now that I think about it, And the guy I mentioned earlier, the other Streagle. That's one thing you do. You play those. Play Streagle, Egger, and Benitez instead of like the Hassan and Jim Miller's. That's a way to get difference. You can still play the good plays as well. All right, that'll do it. Good luck, everybody, and I hope somebody takes it down.